Kitty cat butt, get out of here. I am so excited to touch on... Yeah?
It's a Friday once again.
Hey, my fellow freaks, and welcome back. I hope you guys have had a good week. As I promised last week, this one's review is another disturbing piece of cinema. I had originally planned to do this one last week, if you watched last week's video, and turns out, the way the plot goes, I probably could have still done this one for Valentine's Day. But yes, we are looking at another disturbing movie. Now, what's interesting about this one is that I don't think it's on the disturbing movie iceberg, at least not to my memory. The way that I found it was through going down one of my IMDb rabbit holes of just like clicking on random related movies and just seeing what sounds good. And a lot of the like recommended or related to movies that this one had were like a Serbian film. Why can't I say Serbian today? Martyrs, and there was something else. It was another Japanese horror one, but it has a few movies on the iceberg related to this movie, but this one itself is not on there. Okay, I had to double check and make sure, but this is not on the iceberg. It should be. This movie totally is more deserving of being on the iceberg than some of the other options on here. I'm gonna tell you right now. For example, like Gummo. I don't think Gummo deserves to be on the iceberg at all. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And I did a review of Gummo on my blog. I'll put it in the description if you're interested. Gummo doesn't deserve to be on the iceberg at all. I don't think it's a disturbing movie. But this week's movie, Grotesque from 2009, directed by Koji Shiraishi. This one's gonna be controversial. I think it deserves to be here more than Audition also. And not only was it disturbing, but this shit was an emotional roller coaster. I was glued to the screen. I was so enthralled with the story and what was happening. We're gonna get into it. Now, I will let you know, just from the amount of pages of notes of the shit that I have to talk about for this one, we might be here for a little bit. This might be one of the longer reviews that I've had in a while. So get comfortable, grab your snacks, grab your water, grab your Monster energy drink, and let's jump right the fuck into this review. Now, if you're new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. If you hear any crashing in the background, those are my cats. My reviews are more focused on discussing elements of a movie that I feel make it good or bad, rather than like a summary of everything that happens. In other words, what this means is that I refrained from giving spoilers or play-by-play retellings or descriptions of the movie as much as possible. However, they will sometimes arise if they pertain to the discussion that I'm going to have with the film. But if you're interested in watching Grotesque before the rest of this review, then you may do so on Tubi TV. You know, I'm a Tubi girly. I'm so happy this one's on Tubi. Link is in the description. I'm not sponsored by Tubi. I would like to be one day. Tubi, please notice me. Also, it's just barely over an hour long, so it's not even that long. Just go watch it. It's a wild ride. It's a wild ride that I think should be watched mostly blind. However, I will let you know, and we will be discussing it, that this movie has another scene. However, guess what? This one isn't 10 minutes long, and it actually pertains to what the fuck's happening in the movie. Can you believe it? That's crazy. Now let's get into it. While on a first date, a man and a woman are kidnapped by a doctor and used as pawns in his sick, twisted games. By the way, these characters do have names. They are not said nearly enough for me to retain them or for them to matter. So it's gonna annoy me too going through this, but all of the characters will just be described as the man, the woman, and the doctor. However, the duo gets promised freedom if they're able to sufficiently excite the doctor.
You won! You did it! You did it!
Will the man and woman endure and showcase their will to survive, or will they die agonizing, long, slow, deaths. And guess which one? Put your predictions in the comments. Which one of those two options is the way the movie ends? Drop a comment. Now, clearly, we gotta address the elephant in the room, which is how much the movie kind of copies Saw, with like the filter that it uses and some of the setups. You can't say that it's not there. It was made in 2009. By this point, I think Saw was on its like 6th movie or about to be on its 6th movie. There are some heavy ass inspirations from Saw. There are probably some people who might watch this and think it's like too much of a Saw wannabe. I don't think that. I think it is very clearly still different from Saw, despite having some of the same aesthetic choices. There's also a vibe to it where it feels homemade, and I was trying to put my finger on it, like why this movie very obviously has a budget behind it. Like, it has a good budget behind it, you can tell. But at the same time, it feels homemade. And I think what it is just the scenes, the setting, the set design is coming across as something that's homemade and gritty and dirty and cold. If you are a sick enough freak to be here, then you will understand what I mean by how the vibes of the movie are immaculate. They are gross and gritty and dirty and dark, and there's a lot of like cold metal. The plot, as I describe it to you, is very simple. I don't want to share too much though, because there's a lot of underlying dynamics between all three of the characters that's going on that give the movie a whole different kind of tone. It's like different. It's not. This is another one where I'm gonna say that it's not like other disturbing cinema. While the plot is kind of barely hanging on by a thread, at the same time, it's like, it's deep in how fucked up it is. We're gonna go over it. But before I go over some of the more intricate details of the plot and how it aids in making the movie even more fucked up than just being straight up torture, let's talk about the torture. First, I want to cover the abuse scene. If you didn't watch my Gutter Balls reviews, because we're on YouTube, I have to censor the word, so I just call it abuse. So we're just gonna be referring to it as the abuse scene, same as we did in Gutter Balls. And I just want to go ahead and get it out of the way first, so we can go on with the rest of the review. The only reason that I am bringing it up in the first place, other than to just let the audience know that it exists, is because I feel like it actually has some weight in the story. I think it actually serves a purpose in the plot, and the purpose that it serves just makes it even more sadistic. It's like, anyway, if you don't want to hear about it, go to this timestamp where I just talk about the rest of the torture and the gore and special effects of the movie. So like I said, this one is not 10 minutes long, and I knew it was gonna happen. So before I watched this movie, I did read up on it beforehand, and I knew it was gonna happen from other people. Can I help you? But even though I knew it was gonna happen, unless somebody would have just straight up said it in one of the reviews, nothing could have prepared me to expect how it actually happens. And like I said, the only reason I'm really giving it much time is because I think it does have to pertain to the plot and to the dynamics taking place, and it is just another layer that makes it even more disgusting. I have to be careful about my words here because we're on YouTube, and it's weird. It's strange. The first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is what they meant by that. But it's like not what you expect. As bad as it maybe sounds, it was easier to get through than Gutter Balls, which is not looking good for Gutter Balls, because I said if I start getting into more disturbing cinema and these types of scenes are not as ridiculous as that movie, it's gonna make me hate that movie even more. And here we are with a disturbing movie that doesn't have it nearly as long, nearly as but instead it feels like the purpose of it within this movie is to showcase power. Yeah, it's always about power, right? Like, you can't say it's never not about power, but I'm telling you that in this movie, it is 100% solely based on the Doctor's power over these people. And how do I know that? How can I say that with so much certainty? So here's what happens. Here's what happens in a way that I think is YouTube appropriate. He abuses them, but it's not for his gratification. The Doctor never pleasures himself. The Doctor never even seems aroused. He's doing it all very emotionless. Very emotionless. And again, there's nothing that he does that would grant him personal gratification. How this scene instead plays out is that rather than focusing on himself, he's forcing gratification onto the man and the woman. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I can't say it, but do you know he's forcing their gratification rather than his own? And that's so icky. That's icky. That's almost even ickier than if he were doing it for himself. I wasn't expecting that. So it's like a 100%, it's one of the first things that he does to them, by the way. It's 100% like this power play, almost like to prove a point that he can do whatever he wants to them. And like I said, the main reason why I just wanted to cover it a little bit is because it's just like proving this fucked up power dynamic between everyone. Anyway, that's out of the way. That's all I wanted to say about it. I felt like it was really important to highlight it because it just is one of those layers that make this movie like even more disgusting and sickening. Let's carry on to the gore. So the gore and the torture throughout, damn. There's so much blood. There's so much blood. Some of the torture is also, I would say, a little bit creative. There's an element to the torture that we will be getting into also that's a little bit more psychological that, again, just adds another layer to how sick the movie is. There are several instances of the special effects really, really shining and coming through in this movie. I think the actor and actress are also just incredible at giving these haunting, chilling expressions while they're being essentially played with. That I feel, can I just say, I feel like it's hard to come across in Western media. The faces that chilling from an actor and actress. They conveyed the emotions the characters were meant to have pretty damn well. Maybe without spoiling too much, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but I think one of the most haunting shots, the chainsaw scene. The chainsaw scene when the woman gets punished. Yeah, and how she looks afterwards. Man, it looks so convincingly real how she looks afterwards that it's just like, it's a haunting image to look at. Now, I am not going to talk about this movie without some complaints, and there are some aspects of the gore and torture that I do in fact have complaints about. First of all, I can hardly see a fucking thing that's going on. There are so many moments of this film where it's like the filter is so dark that it's creating pitch black shadows. Not only that, but like camera's just zoomed in as close as humanly possible to what is going on. Can you see very well with a camera shoved right up into the action. I don't think so. And then it'll use like really quick shots and terrible angles, and the beginning of the movie is especially guilty of this. I think after the halfway point it gets better, and there are moments where the camera doesn't shy away, and I appreciate that. But in the beginning especially, there's stuff with the torture where it's like the camera's shy about showing you. Don't be shy, show me. I didn't click on a disturbing piece of cinema just for the gore and torture to be left up to the imagination. You know, that was like my biggest complaint, is that there were quite a few moments like that where it's like they don't want to show you what's happening. It did make up for it because later on, it did start to show a little bit more of what was going on. I was like, okay, at least it eventually does it. But like in the very beginning, there's a part where the man vomits, and you don't even see it. You don't even see it. Just show him vomiting. I'm a big girl. I can take it. Anyway, that's like really my only complaint when it comes to the gore. Other than that, this movie pretty fucking wild, dude. This movie is pretty fucking wild. I think if this movie did not have the story that it did, it would be way more mediocre. But because it has the plot that it does, steps it up a few notches. It steps it up a few notches. And part of that has to do with the psychological torture that's taking place as well between these characters. And a repeated phrase, would you die for me? These are words that are continuously used throughout the film to bite the duo in the ass. Now, I do have to go into a little bit more detail about the story when discussing this. However, it is such a good element of the movie and adds so much to it to make it not mediocre that I have to talk about it. So technically, the first time the audience hears this phrase is when the doctor asks it to the woman. However, we're immediately thrown into a flashback, and the first time it's actually said chronologically is by her. I want you to remember that. She's the one who initially raises the question. The woman and the man are on their first date, and he like throws himself at her basically about how much he likes her. And I'm gonna be for real, sis doesn't seem like she's vibing with him. Like, she straight up tells him, I don't not like you, but you know, this is like a first date. But she also doesn't just say that she likes him. And her body language and everything, sis isn't interested in him, right? Sis is not interested in him. But right before they get kidnapped on this first date, they get kidnapped on the first date. How fucked up is that? How unfortunate and fucked up is that? But she asks him, would you die for me? And she rubs it off as a joke, and he says, well, when it comes to that, I'll do my best. Again, given body language like she's not interested, and then asks him if he would die for her. So they get kidnapped. The doctor does the man first, starts torturing him first, and while he's in the middle of it, she begs for him to stop, and the doctor looks at her and he says, would you die for him? And you know what that bitch does? You know what she does? You want to take a guess what she does? She shakes her head no. She says, no, I would not die for him. Despite the fact that she literally just asked him, and she's here, no, I would not die for him. No. Look, I'm putting the clip in. Tell me that's not her shaking her head no. That phrase keeps coming up over and over and over. And it is the doctor, this time, asking the man, would you die for her? The man constantly says yes and undergoes like extreme torture. So we don't only have the literal torture going on, but we also have the torture of the awkwardness that this man liking the girl way more than the girl likes the man. And so It's like an added layer of torture, my guy. Throughout the film, the man is constantly asked, would you die for her? And he keeps saying yes, and he keeps enduring some of the worst possible fucking shit because he likes her, and she does not even remotely have the same feelings back. Which, by the way, I know I'm like highlighting on that. No shame to her. You're allowed to not like somebody. I'm just saying that this is another fucked up aspect of the movie. Like, that's fucked up. Somebody who loves someone more than the other person even gives a shit about them. Now, while towards the end of the movie, it does seem like she has changed her mind about her affection, the mass majority of the movie is her not being into him. And it makes the plot even more tragic and fucked up. These people were on their first date. She's iffy about whether she actually likes him or not, and he's like head over heels, and now they're put into this scenario. Yeah, I was so glued onto the screen. I was so glued to the screen. You guys, I'm a messy bitch. I was enthralled. And now we gotta discuss my favorite part of this movie. I'm about to lose my fucking shit over my favorite part about this movie. I love this aspect. I think it is clever. I think it is not used enough within disturbing cinema. Or at least I've yet to see it used enough within disturbing cinema, especially to the degree that this movie does it. I think the only other piece of disturbing cinema that I've seen really thrive and embrace this is Tetsuo Iron Man. And the element that I am talking about is the suspension of disbelief. Bitch, I am such a whore for the suspension of disbelief in a movie or any kind of narrative. Like, yes, do something outlandish and crazy that wouldn't actually happen. Now, I can't say that all disturbing cinema doesn't use the suspension of disbelief because I haven't seen all of disturbing cinema. But what I can say is that all of the disturbing cinema that I have watched so far, it seems like it's mostly the Japanese horror that really leans into this suspension of disbelief to do some crazy outlandish shit, and it always succeeds, and it's always awesome, and I will eat it up every time. Like, I feel like if more disturbing movies need to utilize the suspension of disbelief so that they can do crazy shit. The way that it is utilized within Grotesque is phenomenal. It happens within the finale. Now, of course, I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, so I'm not going to go into detail about what actually happens in the finale. The finale you need to watch blind. If anything, that finale, you need to watch that shit blind. You can't know anything that happens in that finale. I was on the edge of my seat. I thought it was incredible. And the reason I thought it was so incredible is because it suspends your disbelief. And it's also very surreal. Like, the very end reminded me a little bit of House, with how surrealist it was. It was beautiful. It was incredible. I loved it. But here's how Grotesque uses it, okay? In the finale, the doctor asks the man to do something which is physically impossible. It's physically impossible. No one should be able to do what the doctor's asking the man to do. And he starts attempting it, and it's insane. I was screaming. Not just screaming out of horror, I was screaming out of excitement. I felt the excitement. Charlie, my boy, you won! It's an exciting scene. It's a tense scene. There is a little bit of a twist reveal that happens that made me gasp so hard I hurt my chest. I was completely, unashamedly just glued. I was enthralled. But I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Why is more disturbing cinema not utilizing the suspension of disbelief as Grotesque is? Because if they did, they would be fucking unstoppable. But no, you know what the issue with disturbing cinema is? Is that it focuses way too much on realism and trying to be as realistic as possible. No, you motherfuckers need to get silly, goofy, wacky up in here. Put in some surrealism. Put in fucking suspension of disbelief. If I don't see more movies like Grotesque, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I'm gonna be, like, upset. I think this movie has made me realize what a lot of the issue of disturbing cinema, especially, let me specify Western disturbing cinema, is that it's just too focused on trying to be shocking and disgusting. When if you focus on the surrealism aspects of horror and suspending disbelief, I'm sorry, but if you do that, you can, like, break the ceiling of possibility and do whatever the fuck you want. And that is exactly what Shiraishi has done. He broke the ceiling. He said, fuck you, I want to do this crazy shit. And it was gross and crazy, and I loved it. And more disturbing cinema needs to be utilizing it, damn it. Because, like, listen, you want to make a disturbing, gross out movie? Why try to make it realistic? If you use the suspension of disbelief, literally anything becomes possible, dude. Let's use martyrs as an example. You can have a person stripped of their skin and still be alive and speak to God. And I think using that greatly benefits the narrative over trying to make it real or convincing. I don't know. The conclusion, the finale, it's just incredible. It's so incredible. I'm just, like, so more than satisfied with the finale of this film. I think it ended perfect. Now, I know some people may not be as crazy about this movie as I am, and that's fine, you know? I think there are aspects of it where I can see somebody might not think it's as good as I think it is, and that's fine. But you know what? I'm a sick, twisted, fucking weirdo, and I'm giving Grotesque an A tier with the potential to move up to S tier. Yes, with the potential to move up to S. I'm sorry, it was gross. It was gross, it was tragic, it was haunting, it was chilling. The gore was there, the torture was there, the plot was plotting. I was just so enthralled and on the edge of my seat the whole time. Like, I know that I'm now finished with this review and I don't have to think about it or watch it again if I don't want to, but I'm gonna watch it again tonight. And it's not gonna be for everyone. It's basically like, if you like the torture and stuff, check out Grotesque. Otherwise, you're probably not gonna like it. Because that's the whole movie. Even though it has a little bit of a plot, the whole movie is basically just torture. Like, it starts and it's just torture. But if you were a sicko freak like me, check out Grotesque, link in the description. And with that, we are done with yet another movie review. So thank you so much if you stayed until the very end. I really appreciate it. Our time is precious. We don't have a whole lot of it, and the fact that you spent your time to sit here and watch me talk about a disturbing movie, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you liked this video, make sure to stab the like button. It's a free and easy way to help out my channel, and I appreciate it a whole lot. Also, if you enjoyed this review just so much that you want to hear me discuss more B movies and disturbing media, ponder subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you can be updated when I make a new upload. I post movie reviews every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also catch me live at STARGUTZZZ Live here on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description and it's right here. The days that I stream vary just due to my schedule. And then here are some of the other socials that you can find me at if you feel so inclined. Again, just thank you so much for sticking to the very end. If I don't see you in the live streams, I'll catch you in next week's video. Have a good night and stay safe out there.
俺が臭い
あんたの母親もものすごい脇がだよ。脇が臭いの。